Well, let's go straight first to Washington, D.C., where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just arrived at the U.S. Capitol Hill. Remember, in about 20 minutes from now, the Prime Minister will be addressing a joint session of the U.S. Congress. Images are coming in of Prime Minister Modi there, arriving at Capitol Hill. Remember, he becomes the fourth Prime Minister to address a joint session of the U.S. Congress. He will be the first, though, in a decade after Manmohan Singh to address the U.S. Congress. The invite to Prime Minister Modi, a rare honor, and it is, remember, in the last leg of U.S. President Barack Obama's presidency. It's being seen as a firm indication of the bipartisan U.S. support now for New Delhi on Capitol Hill. The Prime Minister expected to use the opportunity to convey India's stand on a wide range of issues from climate change, terror defense, security cooperation, trade and economic partnerships. We'll be going live to Washington, D.C. With me in the studios, Raj Chengappa, editor of India Today, joining me. Also joining me, Veena Sikri, senior diplomat. They're here in the studios to give a sense of how they see what will happen. Raj, appreciate your joining us. Veena, thank you very much. Also joining me from Washington, D.C. is Gaurav Sawant, who's been tracking the visit for us. Gaurav, give us a sense. The Prime Minister will speak in what, about 25 minutes from now?
And Rajdeep, there is tremendous excitement already here. Long queues to hear the Prime Minister. We've been speaking to a number of people. He was welcomed by the Speaker, Paul Ryan, and one message that's going out extremely significant here. The lunch, the reception, all of that indicative of the kind of importance that America attaches to India. Now, India has always had tremendous support of the US Congress, not just during the Kargil war, but even subsequently. And yesterday, we were speaking to a number of congressmen, and they said they're really looking forward to listen to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his vision for India, US, the relationship between the two countries, and together, what the two countries, the largest and the oldest democracies of the world, what can they do for the world? So yes, there is tremendous excitement. The importance that US attaches to Indian leadership to India, that will be very significant. One more aspect that people are talking about, Rajdeep, is the fact that as there is a transition from one administration to the other, so in the past, India fell off the table as far as importance was concerned, but this time they want to ensure that in the first 6 months of the next administration, India is not off the table, and that is why this engagement extremely crucial.
You know, the fact is, of course, that this is quite a remarkable transition, Raj. Till 2 years ago, Narendra Modi could not get a visa to go to the United States. Let's be honest. Today, he's met Barack Obama in a one-on-one for the fifth time in the last 18 months. They've had two meetings also on the sidelines of various summits, so 7 meetings. And the sense one gets from what was achieved yesterday, that the two sides have built a measure of trust. And today's addressing the joint session is perhaps the ultimate 360 degrees turn or 180 degrees turn that the United States has made.
No, we must give the Prime Minister credit for bringing the mojo back into the Indo-US relations. It was flagging when he took over. He's come back with fantastic amount of energy. And he's utilized even this visit, which is, seen as you were mentioning earlier, the last leg of Obama's presidency. He's utilized that to come up with, if you look at the joint statement, there are 50 points. And these span very, very important subjects like nuclear, like clean energy, and if you look at science and technology, defense, I mean, these are all major areas. What he's done, as Gaurav has mentioned, is utilize this opportunity to bring a lot of these things on the table, bring some to resolution, and also for the next administration, be prepared for what India wants and would like US to do.
You're absolutely right, Veena Sikri. You've corrected me. He is the 5th Prime Minister, not the 4th to address a joint session. The significance of it, the fact that an Indian Prime Minister, as I put it 2 years ago, the US looked at him with suspicion. Today, he is the man who is being toasted by Washington.
I think it's a tremendous tribute to Prime Minister's own vision in these matters. He put all the personal issues behind him immediately. And I remember when Prime Minister Modi was taking over in May 2014, there were the senior most American commentators saying, the bilateral relationship is going to be very slow. It'll take some time to get over the legacy of the past 10 years. And without anybody predicting it, one phone call President Obama telephoned him to congratulate him, and there it was, the relationship took off. And here we have the 7th meeting going on. And not only that, the appeal, the vision with which the Prime Minister has created the trust in America. As you know, in America there still are a number of groups who will not hesitate to say negative things about India. But Prime Minister, in a very methodical way, with a clear vision, addresses the concerns of each of these groups. For example, in his address yesterday to the US India Business Council, he made it a point to say not only is India the fastest growing economy in the world, but it's the most reliable partner. We have proved that a democracy can be the fastest growing country in the world. Now you see, that was a straight saying. Look, China was saying something else, we've done it.
You know, I actually want to play that speech. We've just got let me play a small excerpt of that speech. Remember, Prime Minister last night in the United States, or this morning, Indian Standard Time, was addressing the joint US-India Business Council. He was addressing the business community. Let's just listen in to the Prime Minister this morning when he spoke to that community, because it is clear that investments and reaching out to the United States is a critical part of the Prime Minister's outreach. Just listen in to what Prime Minister Modi had to say.
I'm happy to tell you that today India is poised to contribute as a new engine of global growth. A larger Indian economy has multiple benefits for the world. Obviously, India presents a large and growing market, but India is much more than a market.
Gaurav Sawant, how was that speech received on the ground there in Washington by the US business community? Was there a sense of optimism that the Prime Minister seemed to emanate? Did that radiate among the audience that he was with? I heard Jeff Bezos of Amazon saying he's going to make India his next big destination. It's going to be bigger than China. Right, Gaurav Sawant's actually gone inside to listen in to the Prime Minister. Manoj Joshi is also joining us, senior journalist. Manoj Joshi, your first impressions of all that you've seen Prime Minister Modi do in the last 24 hours in the United States, is this simply the Prime Minister now taking the relationship to a new level?
You know, I would, as an analyst, hesitate to say this because I've done many prime ministerial visits and all of them appear path-breaking and there's a lot of hype associated with them. I think we need to separate the hype from the achievement, and I certainly think there is achievement in this visit, but the achievement is more of an increment, on an incremental basis. So because we have had a very broad area of convergence with the United States since Rajiv Gandhi's era, and what we see over time is that that convergence is being enhanced. But to really take advantage of it, we need to have a much bigger economy. We need to have a much bigger economic engagement with the United States, something comparable to what China has with the US.
Right. You know, I just want you want to join issue with Manoj. You think Manoj is not giving the Prime Minister enough credit when he uses the word incremental?
I'm fine with him being cautious and everything else. But let's look at the nuclear issue, which if you see the energy, this was a deal that was struck by the former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh with the former administration. But the way Prime Minister Modi has taken this almost as a kind of crusading spirit to achieve the outcomes that Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and President Bush had wanted. Now, let's take a look at the
What are those specific outcomes?
Now, firstly, to engage nations to buy our, to set up nuclear plants here. There was this vexatious nuclear liability bill, which his party had supported and pushed in, which almost stymied the entire effort. He found a wire media solution. He got a national insurance pool to take care of the liability, segregated it, made it easier for them to invest. Then when it came to take for instance US, which is common crib was that US got nothing out of this deal in terms of commercial interest. They were to set up 2 nuclear plants. He said, no, let's set up 6. He pushed them for it, moved it to Andhra Pradesh, then try to find finance from various things for the Indian sector to do that. Then if you look at the MTCR, which is, you know, the kind of the architecture that all these countries had built to make India a pariah state after it exploded the 1974 nuclear test. He got that through. You know, that we are now imminently going to be members, as was mentioned yesterday. And take a look at the NSG. He has moved. He has flown to various capitals. He stopped at Switzerland. He's going to Mexico, all because these groups had opposed India's membership. The only holdout right now is China, and he is using American pressure to get China to work. So I think he has moved on just the nuclear issue, significant step forward. I can speak a lot on clean energy as well.
We'll come to those issues, but I think you're making important points there, Raj. And I just want to put this, I don't know if our producers can capture this, but this is Narendra Modi outside the White House in 1995 with a jhola and a kurta. This is Prime Minister Modi in 1995 outside the White House. Look at it there. Perfect picture that you've captured. My producer's got this absolutely right, the studio director. It is a long time. 20 years is a long time, Veena Sikri.
Yes.
You know, we can talk about 2 years and being ostracized virtually by the US administration, but there is this man looking like a tourist along with a few friends outside the White House, and now is walking into Capitol Hill with US congressmen all over him.
And I want to add one point, you know,
Yes.
when Mr. Joshi is talking about incrementalism,
Yes.
that it is vital to have this incrementalism on a consistent and steady basis. You can't look at the US and then forget about them for 5 years and say, I'll come back 5 years later and it'll still, you know, be the same situation. No, he's working at every issue and building up. Just like, look what we've already got, the Hague Code of Conduct, we already got the MTCR, and now the NSG is on June 20th this month, and with Wassenaar Agreement and Australia Group hopefully around the corner. I mean, look where it puts India in the world stage of the nuclear non-proliferation regimes. It puts India as a trustworthy partner.
Right.
I think this sense of building trust in India as a reliable partner, a trustworthy partner who can deliver on that person's interest, on American interest, and on India's interest.
You know, and I think, Manoj, I think one would agree with you that we tend to hype up these visits and then get caught up in our own hype. But I'm just trying to put it in some kind of context. Here is someone who could have easily allowed his personal angst against the manner in which US administrations had looked at him in that decade to color his judgment of Indo-US relations. He hasn't allowed that, and that is his great credit. I'm again going to play this photograph. There are many more photographs there because they just, to my mind, reflect how life changes for an individual. For Narendra Modi, life has come full circle today. The man who was looking outside the White House as a tourist is today there being greeted by Capitol Hill. Would you agree with that, Manoj, that is one of the most significant achievements as he speaks to the US Congress? I have no doubt that he'll be a little emotional in that sense about it.
You know, I agree with you on that, you know, the sense of achievement that he has, I think is striking, and that is the reason why he decided to forgive the past, meaning the fact that he was not given the visa and he decided to take up relations with the United States like previous prime ministers. But I have one crib with what Raj said. You know, Raj explained the whole thing very well. My only crib is that, look, the nuclear deal was a bargain. It was a deal in the sense we gave something. We gave our program. We agreed to separate our civil and military reactors. We agreed to accede to the NSG's rules, regardless of whether or not we were members of the NSG. We signed the additional protocol. You see, in exchange, the US promised us the MTCR. They promised us the NSG membership. And we had promised them business for the nuclear reactors.
Right.
We have come through with all our promises, but in their case, they haven't come through with the NSG, and the MTCR was blockaded by the Italians till the other day. And if the Marines had not gone back, if the second Marine had not gone back, there would still be a blockade on the MTCR. So I think what I'm trying to say is that let us look at each issue clearly.
Okay.
I just quite quickly like to add, Rajdeep,
there was a bargain with the US.
I just quickly like if I'd like to add.
We have paid up our side.
Okay, you believe, go ahead. It takes two to tango. I think he says it takes two to tango. Yes, Raj.
No disagreements with Manoj on the various things that US has not delivered. But apart from the legacy issues, Prime Minister Modi has shown initiative on the clean energy thing. You can't, that was not the previous administration's thrust. Look at solar energy and look at the way he reached an agreement in Paris India was seen as the outlier, the one, the no-sayer. He changed all that and got into a world agreement. He was not no more a part of the problem, he was part of the solution. And what did he ask for? And if you look at the statement that is made, US had made certain commitments in terms of providing funds, you know, $100 billion in funds, enabling countries like us to have solar technology, high-tech stuff that is there. He has put his eyes straight there and said, where is that? Show me the results. Okay. So I think there you would give Prime Minister Modi credit for bringing something absolutely new to the table and pursuing it.
Okay, let me just take a quick break, because in a moment from now we'll be listening to the Prime Minister. I'm sure he'll raise many of these issues, particularly that of clean energy, because we are told that could be a part of his speech that he's about to make at the joint session. As we head into it, think about someone called Dr. Manmohan Singh. A lot of what has been achieved in the last decade is also owed to the vision of Dr. Singh and Mr. Bush when they got together, as it is to Mr. Vajpayee and Bill Clinton, as some would say to Narasimha Rao, and stretching back to Rajiv Gandhi. But the last Prime Minister to address the joint session was Dr. Singh. Let's listen into a bit of that speech and then come back with a little bit more.
India's track record in nuclear non-proliferation is impeccable. We have adhered scrupulously to every rule and canon in this area. We have done so even though we have witnessed unchecked nuclear proliferation in our own neighborhood, which has directly affected our security interests.